In the far edge of the galaxy, past trade routes and forgotten systems, there was a region called the Void. It had no stars, no planets, no movement, only cold, black silence. Most believed it was empty. Many called it cursed. Ships that entered never came back. So the Council ordered it to be marked as off-limits. For thousands of years, nothing came from that dark place. Until now. A small listening post built on a lonely moon near the Void picked up something strange. Not a call for help, not a language, just a pulse. Thump, thump, thump. The pulse was slow, heavy, deep. It moved through space like a heartbeat from something massive, something alive. The operator at the station froze. He replayed the signal again and again. Then he sent it straight to the Galactic Council. When the message reached the Council, everything stopped. Meetings were canceled. Ships were grounded. Experts were called in from every star system. "What is this?" asked one of the Council leaders. No one had a clear answer. The signal was not random. It repeated perfectly every few minutes. And it was strong. Too strong. It came from inside the Void, deep inside a place that should have been empty. One old scholar, who had studied lost records, turned pale. "I've seen this before," he said quietly. "Long ago. It was Earth." The room went silent. Earth, a name not spoken for ages. Long ago, humans had joined the galaxy. They were strange, fast learners and clever. But one day they vanished. No one knew why. No one asked. The Council had removed Earth from the records. "Earth is gone," a young official said. The old scholar looked at the signal. "Then why? Do I hear their voice in this?" While the Council argued, more signals came. Different ones now, stronger, faster, sharper. They weren't warnings anymore. They were coordinates. The Council sent a small probe into the Void. It vanished. Then they sent 5 more. Each one disappeared without a trace. The last probe managed to send one image before it died. It showed a shadow, a massive shape, floating in the dark. No engines, no light, no metal, just darkness shaped like a ship, bigger than any the galaxy had ever built. The Council gasped. "What kind of ship is that?" one asked. The old scholar answered, his voice shaking. "That is not just a ship. That is a ghost." The Council dismissed him, but fear was growing. One military leader stood. "We need answers. We need control." A fleet of 20 fast scouts was sent to investigate. Only one came back. The scout ship returned, broken and burned. Its crew were silent, their minds shattered. Only one pilot could speak. His words made the room freeze. "They see everything. They don't speak, they don't chase, they just wait." He paused. "Their ships are made of shadows, they bend light, they burn without fire." The message was clear. Something had awakened in the Void. Something powerful, something human. But the Council had already erased Earth from their history. They had lied for centuries. Now the truth was coming back, with warships made of dark matter. The Council didn't know what to do. Should they fight? Should they run? Or should they finally face the past they tried to bury? As the signal pulsed one more time through space, louder than ever before, one thing was clear. Humanity was not gone, and it was watching. The Council sat in uneasy silence. The signal from the Void had returned again, louder, more exact and impossible to ignore. Each pulse now carried more structure, more weight. It was no longer just a sound, it was a pattern, a code. One of the Council's oldest historians had gone missing. He had taken restricted files from the archives, documents sealed for centuries. When he returned, his hands were trembling. "I found something," he said. "Something we weren't supposed to remember." He played a file. The room filled with a low humming sound, almost like the pulse from the Void. "This," he said, "was recorded 900 years ago before Earth vanished." The signal matched. The silence that followed was deep. Earth had not vanished quietly. It had been erased, deliberately removed from records, treaties, and maps. The reason had been kept secret. Now, that secret was knocking on the edge of known space. A quiet voice broke the silence. "We should have told the truth," the historian whispered. "But now the truth is coming for us." The council voted quickly. A second probe mission was launched. 5 long-range stealth drones were sent into the void with advanced shielding and quantum beacons. One by one, the signals disappeared. The last drone activated its emergency return beacon and sent a partial transmission. The image was glitchy, corrupted, but something still came through. A ship. No engines, no lights, no markings. Its shape was impossible, shifting angles, smooth and silent like liquid metal. It moved without sound, without thrust. It simply floated, alive and watching. Then, the drone shut down. Back at Council headquarters, panic grew. If these were Earth ships, they were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. One admiral demanded action. "We must show strength. We cannot look weak." But a few of the older races disagreed. They had long memories. They remembered humans. They were never the strongest, one elder said, but they were always the most dangerous. Still, the vote passed. A full scout fleet of 25 warships was sent to the void. Only one returned. Its outer hull was burned, twisted. The bridge was silent. Its crew were alive, but broken. One pilot was found whispering to himself. They bent the light. The stars blinked out. They didn't fire. They just erased. He was the only one who could speak, and even then, only in fragments. They waited for us, like they knew we were coming. And when we got close, everything went black. He looked straight into the eyes of the council leaders. It was not a battle. It was a lesson. A single file was found in the ship's data core, sent by an unknown source during the mission. The file name read, "Earth Directive, Correction Protocol Activated." The meaning was unclear, but one thing was certain. These ships were not pirates, not raiders, not rebels. They were part of something bigger, something planned. The forgotten world had not stayed forgotten. It had prepared. The council gathered behind locked doors. No media, no recordings, only whispers. Panic had taken hold. The return of something human, after centuries of silence, was enough to shake the strongest leaders. But the recent destruction of their scout fleet made everything worse. "We cannot allow this force to grow unchecked," said the defense director. "We must respond." "But how?" asked another. "Our weapons failed. Our ships vanished." The vote was rushed. They sent a message to their war command. Prepare a show of force. The fleet that assembled was not small. 200 ships, shields boosted, beams charged. They entered the void on a straight path. This time, the council demanded a live feed. At first nothing happened. The void looked empty, still, cold. Then, one by one, the stars in the background began to disappear. "What is that?" one officer whispered. From the edge of nothingness, a shape formed, like a wound in space. A black ship, massive and silent. Behind it, more began to appear. Hundreds. They made no sound. They sent no message. They simply hovered there, surrounding the fleet. The fleet commander sent a greeting, then a warning, then a final threat. No reply. So the council fleet fired. Light burst across the void, plasma, lasers, torpedoes. A wall of energy flew at the dark ships. But nothing happened. The beams passed through. The torpedoes lost direction. The warheads never reached their targets. The human ships didn't even move. One ship from the council fleet exploded on its own. Then another. No impact. Just sudden failure. As if space itself had betrayed them. "They're using gravity." Someone gasped. The human ships weren't firing, they were folding space, bending it, crushing ships without contact. Then the humans responded not with words but with presence. Their ships moved closer. The video feed cut to static. Only one escape pod was recovered later. Its pilot kept repeating the same thing. They didn't want war. We did. The council tried to cover it up, but the truth leaked. Systems began to panic. Worlds demanded answers, and above all, one question spread across the stars. What had Earth become? The council gathered behind thick sealed doors. No cameras, no recordings, just tension. The air inside the chamber was cold, not from temperature, but fear. Word had spread. A council fleet had been erased, not defeated, erased. A storm of panic had already begun in the outer systems. Refugees fled toward the core worlds. Trade routes froze. Defense platforms were set to full alert. One counselor slammed his hand on the table. We must not allow this human threat to grow. We must destroy it before it spreads. Another shouted back, with what? We just lost a fleet without a single return shot. But the decision was already made. 12 military systems offered their ships. The fleet was assembled quickly. 200 cruisers, destroyers, stealth ships, and command corps. The mission? Enter the void and respond with force. Make an example of this so-called dark fleet. They launched with confidence. The galaxy watched. The ships moved fast, boosted with gravity drives and cloaked under multi-phase shielding. The fleet approached. The edge of the void in a tight wedge formation. Live feeds streamed to Council HQ. They saw nothing. At first. Then the background stars began to vanish one by one. Not from movement, but as if something was eating the light itself. What is that? A commander whispered, his voice trembling. From the stillness of space, a shape emerged, gigantic, silent, made of material blacker than black. It wasn't flying, it was just there, waiting. Then more appeared. 10, 20, 50. No heat signatures, no engine trails. They surrounded the fleet in perfect silence. The council commanders broadcast standard greetings, then escalation warnings, then final threats. Nothing came back, so the council fired. Every weapon lit up the darkness, plasma beams, ion shells, missiles. A storm of light raced toward the dark ships, but nothing hit. The beams bent away. Missiles lost lock. Projectiles slowed in midair and crumbled. The dark ship stood still, untouched. Suddenly, one cruiser burst open. No explosion, no enemy. Fire. Just a rupture in space. Another ship folded in half and vanished. They're using gravity weapons, someone gasped. Space is breaking. One officer stared in horror. No, not weapons. They're controlling reality itself. The human ships moved slowly, creeping forward. But they didn't attack like predators. They watched, studied, then the council's live feed cut to static. Back at HQ, alarms rang. They had lost the entire fleet in less than 7 minutes. Only one escape pod returned later. Its pilot, pale and shaking, could barely speak. They didn't want to fight, he said. We pushed first, we fired first. What did they want? Someone asked. The pilot stared, hollow-eyed. They waited, like they already knew what we'd do, like they had seen this before. They didn't want war. We did. The council tried to hide what happened, but it was too late. The feeds had been recorded, leaked, shared. Panic rippled through the stars. Some called for peace, some for surrender. But one question spread faster than any signal. What had Earth become? The council believed they still had time. They believed the galaxy would rally behind them. They believed that fear could be defeated by numbers. So they summoned their largest armada ever, 12,000 ships drawn from every major world. Massive cruisers, advanced stealth units, gravity bombers, even prototype dreadnoughts that had never seen real combat. The formation spread across light years, glittering with power and confidence. Admirals stood tall. They called it Operation Eclipse. As the fleet neared the void, excitement spread. Propaganda streamed across star networks. Victory will return light to the darkness. But no one asked the most important question. What if numbers don't matter? The first sign came quickly. As the armada approached the edge of the void, strange things began to happen. Sensors failed. Time signals lagged. Gravity readings fluctuated wildly. Navigation software went blind. The void wasn't just space. It was changing them. Then, they appeared. From the black nothingness, dark ships emerged, thousands of them rising like shadows out of a deeper shadow. No lights, no sound, no movement that matched physics. They didn't fly. They floated, like pieces of the night sky had. Come alive. Council forces panicked. Commanders shouted orders. Defensive shields activated. Target locks engaged. Weapons fired. A brilliant wave of destruction surged toward the human ships. Plasma lances, quantum disruptors, hypersonic missiles, and then silence. Everything passed through. Nothing hit. Lasers bent away. Torpedoes slowed down. Disruptors simply fizzled. The dark ships didn't return fire. They moved forward. A line of Council warships tried to retreat. Their engines ignited, then flickered, then stopped. They simply floated, powerless. One dreadnought twisted mid-flight, as if the space around it had been folded like paper. The ship crumpled into a singularity, gone in a flash. Another ship turned inside out without warning or explosion. No energy detected, a tech officer whispered. No weapons. They're not destroying us, a general realized. They're deleting us. One admiral screamed into the command channel. This isn't war, this is reality collapse. In minutes, the entire front line was gone. Thousands of ships were destroyed, not by fire, not by force, but by absence. No wreckage, no escape pods. Just silence and blank space. Back at Council HQ, the live feeds went dark. Panic spread, communications jammed, entire systems fell into chaos. Then came the image, no voice, just a transmission. The screen filled with a rotating view of a planet, no longer blue or green but wrapped in layers of gravity and light. Earth. Floating near a black hole, protected by energy fields that distorted time. It didn't look like a planet. It looked like a command center for something ancient. Surrounding Earth were massive warships larger than moons. They weren't moving. They were waiting. Earth had not abandoned the galaxy. It had transcended it. The Dark Fleet was not a rogue force. It was part of something planned, something designed long ago, and now it had returned. The Council didn't understand what they had awoken. They thought Earth was gone, but Earth had been preparing, and the stars would never be the same again. Panic was no longer just inside the Council chambers. It had spread across the galaxy. After the destruction of 12,000 ships in the void, systems fell silent. Trade collapsed. Border planets turned off their beacons. Pirates surrendered without a fight. Even ancient warlords retreated into hiding. But something stranger happened. Across the core worlds, black cubes began to appear. Floating. Silent. Small, but dense. Heavier than their size should allow. They hovered just above the ground, unshakable, untouched by gravity, wind, or force. Each one gave off a strange vibration, slow, deep, and cold. No species had seen this kind of technology before. Not even the archivists, the oldest information keepers in the galaxy. That's when a technician digging through sealed Council records triggered a buried file. Its label, Earth Directive, Do Not Erase. The file was old, human-made, nearly 1,000 years old. No one had opened it before. Inside was a message, not a threat, not a speech, a warning. The Void Fleet is not for conquest. It is for correction. If it awakens, balance has been broken. Correction? More records were unlocked. Secret files, buried reports, testimonies from ancient Council members who had once worked alongside humans. Long ago, humans knew something the others didn't, that power corrupts species. That some would eventually build weapons not meant for defense or survival, but for domination of time, space, and life itself. So they created the Dark Matter Fleet, machines built from forbidden elements, powered by collapsed stars, able to detect violations in natural laws. The fleet was hidden, silent, until now. Recently, The Council had secretly tested a weapon that distorted local spacetime, a prototype able to pause gravity for 5 seconds. It was called the Chronotier. They didn't know it would trigger Earth's warning system, now they did, and it was too late. The Council had not summoned war, they had summoned judgment. As the truth spread, more of the black cubes appeared. Some landed in oceans, others floated in open skies. One even materialized in the middle of a major council city square, right above the governing dome. They never moved, never spoke, never reacted until they did. At exactly the same moment, all across the galaxy, every cube pulsed. Once, and every major planet felt the same thing. Gravity shifted. Tiny distortions rippled across space like slow, invisible waves. Communications slowed. Orbits twisted. Time itself seemed to tremble. Then came the message. Not in words, not in sound, in gravity pulses. Encoded with perfect mathematical structure. It took hours to translate. When the message was finally decoded, it read, "Balance was broken. Correction has begun." The Council begged for peace. They tried every signal, every code, every offer, but the dark ships didn't reply. They simply watched and waited. Then, something changed. One small research colony, located far outside Council, Control, sent a different signal. Not fear, not power, a single transmission. We acknowledge our error. We ask for truth. Their cube disappeared. Then another planet tried the same. Their cube vanished too. Suddenly, across the stars, surrender turned into survival. But not all followed. Some species gathered hidden fleets. They believed they could fight. They launched one final strike. Hidden missiles, cloaked ships, silent bombs against what they thought were sleeping warships. The result? Nothing survived. The planets they came from? The cubes didn't vanish. They exploded. Without fire, without force. Just erasure. Entire continents blinked from existence. No warning, no trace. Just silence. And then, it stopped. The cubes ceased, pulsing. The warships froze in place. The dark fleet powered down. Across the galaxy, confusion spread. Was it over? Had the correction been completed? And then, without warning, every screen on every world lit up. A face. Human. Eyes that glowed faintly, with stars, skin marked with lines of energy. A voice that felt like it came from both inside and outside time. This is Earth. The galaxy held its breath. We watched. We waited. We hoped you would grow wiser. Instead, you reached for forbidden tools. You broke the balance. We did not return to rule. We returned to remind. The image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly near a black hole covered in structures taller than mountains, shielded in a glowing web of gravity. Humanity hadn't just survived. It had evolved beyond war, beyond time, beyond borders. We offer peace. One law, one truth. No species shall create what it cannot control. No weapon shall undo what time protects. Balance is not a choice. It is the law. And with that, the dark ships turned. One by one, they faded into the void again. The cubes dissolved into nothing, and Earth went silent. The Council survived, but they would never forget. From that day forward, every species looked to the stars differently. Because they knew Earth was still out there, watching, waiting, correcting.